It's another great day. Welcome to iFU.Podcast. I'm Austin, your host, with my fellow co-hosts,
Sarah
and Trent.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of iFU.Podcast. And today we are going to be talking about rest. Probably something that, especially in this society, people tend to skip and miss when they probably need it the most. So the question is, are you getting enough rest? And are you giving the certain parts of your life enough rest? Or what's something you need to take a break from, in other words?
I don't know, I would almost argue that most people probably get too much rest.
Do you think so?
I think so. I think on average, I think most people get way more rest than what they actually need.
I don't know about that because I think not that it's half and half. I think that there are a lot of people out there with anxiety who feel like they always have to be doing something. Like the production drive on them is really high, and that's most of the time associated with anxiety. And then there are people that are like, well, I don't have to do anything. Mm-hmm. And they spend their life sitting on their couch watching TV, and then they wonder why they don't have this, that, or the other.
Right.
And it's just a chronic laziness problem.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. And I think like pure rest, like if you're looking at rest in its entirety, you're not working, you're not being emotionally stressed out, you're not being mentally stressed out, and like everything's just kind of shut off, just zen. You know, because if you're sitting on the couch watching TV, you're probably actually overstimulating your brain more than you think.
Yeah, you may not call that actual rest then, so.
Yeah.
On average, people are probably more often at rest rather than getting actual rest.
Yeah. I agree. Like, if you view sitting on the couch as rest, honestly, I think the best way to find rest is in the thing you find passionate and enjoyable. So long as it's not overbearing. You know, so like, for instance, for me, because it's a break in my regular day routine, instead of going to work, doing the mundane thing, I can spend my Saturday focusing on like family games or something, you know, quality time with your family. I think rest can not just come in sleep, but also in just the break of the abnormal, or the break of the normal.
Yeah, rest, I think there needs to be like a actual relief involved.
Yeah.
What would be your chosen version of rest then?
I feel like my stress will decrease if I'm doing something for myself that I'm enjoying, more so than just like I'm gonna lay down. Because I feel like just like laying down and physically resting, like it's not helping my mental state or anything like that. So to get actual rest, I think I need to be doing something that's both relaxing and also like enjoyable. Like I could spend a few hours just painting, and I would probably call that rest, because I'm just engaged in something outside of everything else that I'm enjoying doing, and I'm not like laboring over it either. So
Okay, that's fair. That makes sense. My rest is hands down, I could be laying down, sitting down, it doesn't matter what I'm doing while I'm doing it, but listening to music. Especially music that the mood specifically is like hitting me at my core. And it's always different because I listen to different kinds of music all the time, and specifically with headphones on. Like, I have to feel like I am completely surrounded by it. I hear nothing else. No one's around me. I have to be by myself, just in my own little zone. And that's probably my favorite form of rest, hands down.
Yeah, like, there's nothing quite like parking your car after a stressful day of work and just listening to music.
Yeah.
Just for a few minutes, like, I would call that like rest because you're not doing anything and you're just in the music.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's just the power of music. You know, you listen to what you like and it sets you off. But I think for me, outside of music, it's actually like social gatherings. You know, because I am an extrovert and I thrive in social gatherings. So it's like that's my growing place. Obviously, that doesn't give me rest physically. I'm definitely down for taking a 3-hour nap on Sundays. So.
Yeah. I just think it's funny that me and Trent are like, we're by ourselves doing this thing. And you're like, I'm socially doing this. And I'm like, and both of us are over here shaking our heads like, no.
You increased my stress level.
Yeah.
I said that. No.
I have to come up with something interesting to talk about or act like I'm interested in what you're talking about.
Like, I need to come up with rest for after the social gathering.
Yeah. I need something. I have to get myself ready for that and then take a load off when I'm done.
That's probably why I can fall asleep so easy at night, though. It's probably because I'm so energized.
Because you're just pouring out all day long.
I'm just pouring out all day long. My wife is like, I wish I could sleep like you. The second I hit the bed, just I'm out.
Yeah, that's me, honestly. Especially you get all cuddled up and you're warm in the perfect position. Golden. Dog between my legs, little Tasha. Oh yeah, that's the spot.
I can't do that unless I take like melatonin or something because my mind...
Your brain.
Yeah.
See, for a long time, especially as a teenager, sleeping was my absolutely favorite part of the day. Like, trying to get me to go to bed early was never a problem. I'd be like, 5 o'clock and it's bedtime? Great. I'm excited. But I also struggled with depression as a kid and a teenager. But I thoroughly enjoyed sleeping.
I enjoyed sleeping in. But that was also because I liked staying up real late and sleeping for like 10 to 12 hours.
It didn't matter how late I stayed up. I was up by 8 or 9 o'clock as a kid. And if I wasn't, it's because I was just being lazy and still laying in bed. Like, I wasn't asleep. I was just laying there.
I'm getting to the point where I feel horrible if I sleep in.
Really?
Like, they used to be like the best thing. Like, I'm going to call off work and just sleep in. And it's like, now I just feel like trash.
Yeah.
And like, I could be accomplishing so much. I'm just wasting my time and my day here.
Yeah. Well, see, like I told you, I'm like, I'm probably going to get up at exactly the same time as when I go to work. And that's exactly what I do. But I've swayed out of having too much rest. Because I used to be that person. Like, I just wanted to sit there and do absolutely nothing and sleep in, you know what I mean? Stay in bed. But now I find a lot more enjoyment, and especially on days when I had to call off, a lot more enjoyment in getting up at the same time I normally would, but doing something obviously I wasn't doing, like not going to work. So I'll get up and I'll make my breakfast and be listening to music and have the greatest time doing that. And then I'll eat my breakfast watching my favorite show. And then I'll stop that and, do a little bit with the dogs. And then I'll turn around and go play some games. And it's only 10 o'clock. And I think it's the best thing in the world.
That's funny. See, now I can sleep in until about 8:30 or 9. Granted, my children let me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but...
Yeah, well, you've got little babies in the house still.
Yeah. I mean, they'll usually sleep in to about 7:30, though. So it's still pretty good. So I don't have... But once it gets to about 8:30, 9 o'clock, like, my body feels in pain. Like, I'm like, you've been laying too long. You need to get up.
Yeah. Yeah, it does hurt. Yeah, to lay in bed very long. Mm-hmm. I'll wake up in the middle of the night and just the way I'm sleeping. Guys, I'm getting old. I'm hitting 30 this year. And I'll wake up in the middle of the night and just the way I'm sleeping, like my lower back hurts or my hip hurts. And I said, this is trash. You remember when you were a kid and you woke up and it was like a tornado, like your blankets are everywhere and you're like, that was the best sleep ever. No, I wake up in the middle of the night hurting. Especially shoulders because I'm a side sleeper. My shoulders, man, I'll sleep in the weirdest ways and they ache so bad.
See, I like to sleep on my belly but then with my arms above my head. And so, like, I always get that tight. You're so weird. I'm so...
I used to sleep like that. When I was young, I was a big...
like this or something.
Yeah, when I was young, I was a big belly sleeper. And then I got to side sleeping as I got older. Had partners and girlfriends, you know. I think that's when I migrated into side sleeping. Now I find stomach sleep. I enjoy stomach sleeping, but I notice I only like it when my anxiety is really high. Because I'll even sleep like with my hands tucked under my body. Yeah. Otherwise, it's side sleeping, or I'll wake up. I actually wake up in the middle of the night a lot on my back anymore. And I'm like, you know what? This isn't, at least I don't wake up hurting when I'm sleeping on my back.
I'm a side sleeper as well.
So we talked about sleeping, which is a good form of rest when you definitely need it.
Yes.
Now, is it possible to be burnt out from sleep?
Yeah, if you get
easily
too much sleep, like you feel bad, you've wasted your time, you know.
Yeah, oversleeping will make you just as tired as not getting enough sleep. It's bad for your brain.
And if you're sleeping more because you're depressed, you're waking up feeling like trash, and you're going to keep in that cycle.
Yeah, it's a bad cycle.
Yeah. So, what are some signs that you are needing rest? Like, obviously, we all get to a burnout point, right? But what are some signs telling you that I should probably take a break?
Well, like, say you're used to doing a certain weight while you're working out, and suddenly you can't do that weight anymore. Maybe you're working too hard.
Or maybe you're a woman.
Or maybe you're having
we just had this conversation because women fluctuate with our hormones. Like, there's always at least 1 week out of the month when you're working out where the weight is just too heavy. And that's normally when you're getting close to your cycle. I know it. I'm sure you've seen me like grab smaller weights sometimes and you're like, oh, that's not really what you normally do. But it really is a thing. But hands down, like, especially if you're at a point where we used to be where you're going every day. Number one, just the constant cycle of having to do it. Like, it's your normal cycle every day is mentally draining. And then you're going in there and you're physically draining yourself. And then you get home and whatever you've got mentally going on or whatever, you're trying to just push through whatever you got to do, whether it be kids, because we've all got kids, or working on this podcast, especially you editing, you know what I mean? Just every little thing after that is exhausting. So...
And then other things pile up.
Yep.
If you're devoting too much time into something, and you're going to be suddenly like, I got laundry to do, and it's piling up, and you know, stuff like that. Sometimes you just need to take a break from something because you don't really have any choice, and that's going to make the burnout even worse. Because you're like, well, I'm going to get back into this, and then you're frustrated.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say, is I feel like another sign of it is you're easily irritated or frustrated over the littlest things. Because I do that. Like, if I notice, like, I'm little things that don't normally bothering me are bothering me, and more than just bothering me, like, really getting under my skin. Like, I feel like I have to say something about it, and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. That's when I know I'm getting to a point. I'm not at burnout, but I'm getting awful close, and I've got to chill out.
Yeah, I think it's best. And we kind of talked a little bit about this in previous podcasts, but to have a plan to be prepared for when burnout does come, because like we all have regular things to do, like Trim was saying, laundry, dishes, children, making dinner, and then on top of any other activities you have going on. So it's almost like prepare yourself for a plan for a day, whether, it's a Saturday or whatever, to just take out your schedule and be like, I'm doing nothing that day, or I'm doing this, which I know will make me feel better.
Yeah, it's important to plan rest, especially if you're just on the go constantly. That's the only way you're ever going to get is if you actually schedule it.
Yeah. I've had to physically write it down in my journal. Be like, rest, go to sleep at this time,
Mm-hmm. I've been the person that will look at the other adults within my household and be like, this day, I'm doing nothing. Okay? So I'm going to clean this day, or if there's something that pops up, let me know. But I'm telling you right now, no matter what you are choosing to do, this day I am doing nothing. And if, say it's a Sunday, normally we clean and we meal prep on Sundays. If it's a Sunday, I'm choosing that, I will be like, okay, but on Saturday, I'm cleaning this room and this room and this room. So that when Sunday comes around and you guys are cleaning, I'm not. And normally that goes pretty well according to plan. I think communication is key there, but
Yeah.
planning that and communicating that, especially to the rest of the household, to the rest of the adults that are also having to do the same thing that you are doing, where easily frustrations can build up when things are not being done or help is not there, is really important. But definitely plan it.
Yeah.
If not, try to plan it together, obviously, if it's your partner, your wife, whatever. But
Yeah. Let's go into the spiritual aspect of rest, though. So how do you spiritually feel more rested or seek to rest?
I guess there's two different directions with spirituality. We encounter burnout and also rest, because sometimes you need the same thing. So it's hard to tell which one you need in that moment. Like, in your case, you may be overworked sometimes, and you're like, okay, I need to get away from this for a minute. And while I'm less active, like in church and stuff, I probably think I need more of this because I need that refreshment and, encouragement and all that. And even that social aspect that normally would drain me, but, spiritually, that's what I need. Like, a lot of times that's what I need, and that has the opposite effect of, just planning to go out and hang out with people. It's a different thing, but yeah, like going to church. I mean, getting up in the morning and actually getting there is hard, especially when we're working so much overtime and everything. But once I'm there, I feel much better because I'm getting a form of rest, because there's just all that spiritual aspect to it where people are there to encourage you and, everything that comes with that, your faith and all that.
Yeah.
yeah, I would say I'm in the same boat, as I sort of use the things that I'm doing, almost like practicing the things that I believe in, the things I do to do those type of things. I use that as a form of rest.
Yeah.
Like to get in touch with something that I feel like is benefiting my life or something. It's definitely a form of rest for me. But it's definitely, like I said, in any episode we've talked about it, I'm also learning what I believe in, and I'm learning what makes me feel good, what makes me feel energized, what I believe in and don't believe in. You know what I mean? So tying into it, learning more or practicing it is definitely a form of rest currently in my life.
Yeah. I would agree. I mean, because what Trent was saying about me is because I'm a lot of times at the church working.
Yeah.
And so it's not really renewing because I'm constantly in that state of mind. But when you do feel like you need that aspect, whatever it is that you are giving yourself to help that wellspring inside of you, it's definitely refreshing. And it's not like I don't know how to explain it. It's like you're being filled.
Yeah. That's what I was getting ready to say. It's something that spirituality, religion, no matter what it is something that fills you. I feel like it is something that brings hope to people, or a sense of purpose to people, or a sense of meaning to people, which for anyone that practices spirituality or religion, it should be a filling thing for you, because that's what you believe in. That's what you find those things in. Where what you're talking about is like you sort of got work mixed into it.
Yeah.
If you're practicing a religion or whatever that is taking away from your life, maybe look into other things. Like, you know what I mean? You should never feel like, and I'm talking about completely spacing, like for people who don't work in it, like me and Trent.
Yeah.
Like we practice, we believe in. If you're not working in it, in it, it should not take away from you, in my opinion. It should not you should not feel like it is subtracting from your life.
And off of that, so basically when you are searching for something spiritual or in work, in life or anything, like, don't do something that's going to drain you if you can help it. Like, do something you, like, for when I'm at the church, I'm part of the worship team. I love to sing.
Yep.
So that fills me, you know. I'm a social person. I don't mind being at public places.
Yep.
You know. So I know those things won't knock me down. Now, if you ask me to stand up and give you a speech, that's crossing a line. That's not going to happen. Trent's over here thinking, one day he'll be a pastor.
Yep.
Well, as an introvert who used to actively preach, that was the most exhausting thing I could do ever. But on the other hand of it, it was also the most fulfilling thing that I was doing.
Yeah.
But
that's tying work in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I was fulfilling my purpose. So I felt good about what I was doing, but also once you got up there and did it, it was exhausting. It was almost horrible. Like it was to the point where people would ask me if I could do their wedding. I'm just like, no, I'm not doing it. So I only do that for, like, basically I make exceptions for that because it's extremely stressful.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I like when you're preaching or giving a speech of any type, you know, or you see like just speakers, you know, you are putting your opinion or your tradition or your thoughts out there onto people, and you're hoping you're going to deliver the right message, you know, and you're basically implanting the seed in people's minds, you know, and that is a responsibility that, and oftentimes it can be a burden because, you know, especially if you're responsible for them like a pastor is, you know, it's like, I've got to help these people get out of the muck that they're in by giving this message. That's heavy.
Yeah.
If you're looking at it deeper, like if you believe like this is God's word, like I cannot mishandle this.
Yeah.
You know, it's even more of a pressure on you.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about mental. We kind of talked about it a little bit. Like we get that break, like when we listen to music and stuff like that. What would you say puts you into a burnout mental state? Probably the fastest.
Work.
Kind of.
Just work for everything, guys.
Work. No, and I just mean that because especially if you're in an environment, wow, talking's hard. An environment specifically where there's a lot of social interaction around. That's why I say mentally. Because, you know, your normal day-to-day routine, getting up, going to work, because not everybody's fortunate enough to be working in a position like whether a job is fulfilling to them.
Yeah.
So then it's taxing, which is kind of like my thing. But you know what? My job pays the bills. And I can't really find anything that I am able to do and pay me that much in my current position. So, you know, it's kind of like, what do they call it? The 9-to-5 job. So that's taxing, but then you go in and like we've already said, Trent and I are introverts, and then I've got people around me and we're all different. There's different ages, there's different personalities. Any mix of human being in a factory will be there. And not everybody's cup of tea. And so when you're already not in the mood to be there, doing what you're doing, and it's the same repetitive thing, and then you've got people that sometimes get on your nerves, sometimes do not get on your nerves. Work.
I find most of the time at work, and it definitely is a social aspect, because if there's a grading person next to you, it's hard to get to there. But a lot of the times I feel like I can effectively do my job but zone out enough that like I'm actually getting like mental rest, especially if I'm listening to audiobooks or music while I'm doing that.
Yeah, I think I'm just always worried that I'm going to install something incorrectly. So I'm always on alert.
You're taking it way more serious than I am.
Well, yeah, but that's only because if I do zone out, I have gotten, like, I'm missing, like, the cue point. Like, I'm missing, the sheets that tell me parts are changing and stuff like that. Because I have to pay it, we have to pay attention to the parts. And that does mentally weigh on me because I don't want to mess it up. You know what I mean?
And that depends on what process you're doing, too.
Yeah.
Because some things, like if you're on lower center panel, you don't have to worry about that kind of thing. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing over and over again,
so,
yeah.
Yeah. It really depends on what you're doing actively.
Yeah.
So, once again, I'm on the opposite end of you guys. What is the most mentally straining thing for me? Being bored.
Ooh.
I cannot stand being bored.
Yeah.
Because when I'm bored, then my brain takes me places and I have to fight that mentally.
I have the same thing, but as long as I am effectively occupying myself.
Well, see, but if you're occupying yourself, you're really not that bored.
Like mentally.
Yeah.
If I'm in something in my mind, I'm fine. But if I don't have anything to like mentally work on,
yeah,
then that's when I start to spiral.
But I mean, not just like bored mentally, but also bored just doing something in general. Like finding something for me to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's just constantly, that's probably the most draining thing. Like, you talk about, making sure you have the correct parts and just doing a certain job and things like that. I'm like, that just comes natural. Like,
yeah.
Not saying I got it together, because heaven knows I make mistakes all the time. But I'm just saying, like, it's not straining on me mentally.
Yeah.
But yeah. When it comes to physical, I mean, we all start going to the gym, so that's physically exhausting. Being on our feet all day long.
At work.
On concrete.
I'm short enough
toes.
at work that certain jobs, especially when I'm doing specific jobs back to back, especially my shoulder starts aching. And that is not only mentally taxing, because it's like every single one you do, you're like, oh my God, it hurts. And then you have to go, install it or whatever. And then it's physically draining because it just hurts.
I find if I'm leaning on one leg more, that leg hurts. It gets sore throughout the day.
Yeah. 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 I'll do that with my feet. Like if say we've had downtime and I'm just standing there, I tend to stand on one foot or the other. Like I'm a little weird there. Like I'll just stand on one foot and rest my other foot on it. And I'll notice like my feet start to get sore and my ankles will get stiff and.
Yeah. Trent's just over here nodding. He's like,
yeah,
I get all
Trent
that,
doesn't
guys.
have any physical
or he's either Mr. Invincible or
all.
something.
Most of my physical problems at work have totally gone away because I've been exercising, I think.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I used to have horrible pain in my hip and both of my knees. And I just don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think just the exercise has really helped me in that aspect. Like the only thing I get now is oh, my hand kind of hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But physically at work, I think I'm totally fine.
Yeah.
I don't have to struggle anymore.
Yeah. I know before I was exercising, my lower back used to hurt a lot. But now that I exercise, I hardly ever have lower back pain. Unless it's I had just done leg day or something like that or back day. And it's just the extra, strain of standing all day compared to where I have been. With the strain of already having worked that out, my back will get sore. But when it comes to day-to-day just standing there doing my job, I don't have that pain anymore.
Yeah. And I think not just at work, though, but we all, in all these forms, in spiritual, mental, physical, emotional, at home, we can all experience these kind of things. Could be kids are just not behaving like you hope they would. You got to get chores done. Maybe physically you're working on a project and for some reason you just can't get it the way you want it to be. Or your kids want too many piggyback rides. uh, or like spiritually. So like in my house, you know, not that it's spiritually draining, but as a parent, I hold a responsibility to raise my kids the way I want them to be raised. And if I want them to know, you know, Christianity spiritually, I have to practice that within my home.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to take certain steps, you know, pray with them, pray over the meals, have a Bible story together before bed, you know, and talk to them and be a respectable parent to them in the words that Christianity would, you know, teach me to be a parent of. So what are you guys struggling the most with right now when it comes to rest? Like, what area would you say?
For me, at least recently, was just I didn't have time to do all the things that like I would normally be doing or needed to be doing. So like you throw in taxes and stuff like that, and you know other things going on. It's like I got so much stuff I got to do, and so I was actually just pretty stressed out the last couple of weeks, and I wasn't able to play games because you know just when you're stressed for time and you have all this stuff needs done, that's first thing goes out the window. It's like, all right, no games. I got to do this, and this. So basically just pushed through all that stuff and then took a day off work and got all the stress I needed, and you know, now I feel fine.
So was it all three of them taxing with the way you were having to do it?
Yeah, I think everything was just stressed.
Yeah.
Spiritual, mental, emotional, physical.
All around burned out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think mine, so I just had a PTO day on Friday, and I think it was mental and physical exhaustion, but I think it's a lot of mental because I was physically exhausted. Like I just had so many things going on that I had physically exhausted myself, and then just the pressure to keep going and getting everything done so we can stay caught up then starts to become mentally taxing when you're already physically drained. Because I can say Friday I spent most of my time just sitting there by myself, not doing anything, like just sitting in a chair, and I would kind of play with my phone and then put it down, and then I'd turn and I'd talk to the dog, and then managed to make myself breakfast, but not like my normal cooking breakfast like I always do. Like I just warmed up some French toast sticks and had some protein French toast and stuff. So it wasn't even to the level. So I think my main source was definitely a physical sort of exhaustion that turned into a mental, because I just kept trying to go, and my body was tired.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, I still have all these things to do. And it starts to get mentally taxing. But definitely, I think the source of it all was physical exhaustion for sure.
Yeah. I think mine I'd have to say mentally, just because, and then this is the most recent thing, but as you guys know, I was moved to another area away from my friends.
Yeah.
It took me away. Anyway, but it left me bitter.
Yeah.
And so I had to mentally and emotionally, you know, fight through that. And then I'd bring it home.
Yeah.
And on top of everything that's going on in my home, you know, because if you have little kids, you know your home is going to be chaos.
Yeah, it always is. It's always something.
And so, and I have a lovely wife who manages it. Obviously, she's more wonderful than I am. Anyway, so...
Agreed.
But, yeah, mentally and emotionally, I was just, for like a week and a half, I could not get over this. And I was getting easily frustrated at my kids, easily frustrated at my wife. I was separating myself, and that's the worst thing I could do, is isolate myself.
Yeah.
You know, mentally, and not telling people this is what's going on with me. And then I finally, it's weird, but I actually used my spiritual aspect in Christianity, and I sought advice, and I talked to other people about it, and then it made me flip my mind.
Yeah.
I'm not so negative, and so it renewed me, and I was like, oh, okay, I can deal with this. I can do better. Because before it was like, I moved over here and I don't even care. I'm going to mess up these parts. I don't even care.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just, going to do a terrible job.
Yeah.
But no, it's like, because as a Christian, my view is do all things for the glory of God.
Mm-hmm.
And so to the best of your capability. And so it's like, maintain a positive attitude, do the best you can at work, So, and good things happen when you do your best. People see that. So, but yeah, it just, my spirituality got me out of, was the rest I needed to get me out of mental and emotional.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of a different twist on things.
And oddly enough, for me, this past Friday, like, me and Sarah hung out with her brother and her friends. And as an extrovert, normally that would be a stressful thing, but actually enjoyed it a lot. Like, I feel like I needed that social interaction. I don't think I had enough of it, going into that. So, yeah, we had a good day. We played games.
Mm-hmm.
We
had a couple of drinks, played some games.
Really good pizza.
I did not have the pizza, but I knew going in I wasn't going to like that pizza because I had that pizza growing up. But yeah, I always feel like I am resting when I'm around my brother, but that's because we grew up so close. So just being around him is nice until I get to the point where I feel like an expectation, like I have to make the most of the time because I don't get to see him nearly as often. Of course, I would like to see him. So I get when I am with him, I do sort of mentally get myself into a point where it's like, well, we got to make most of our time. Like I got to be with him like every second. And it's like, no, Sarah, you don't. He's a whole human being. You know what I mean? He's a whole adult human being. You do not have to entertain him.
He also has a life.
Yeah, he has friends. Well, and it's just like, you know what I mean? And he's in the military, and the U.S. is so crazy right now. I would just worry about him. And I'm sure he is worried about me too, as he's expressed it. And then so it's just, I think right now we're just so worried about each other. And then I felt bad because I did not see him the rest of the weekend. And then I had to be like, you know what? I think if like he was worried about it, he would have said something to you. You know what I mean? And I messaged him, and he was already back in Florida by the time he responded back to me. So he had a beautiful weekend. But yeah, there for a minute, I really felt like I felt bad because Saturday had not reached out to him, and I felt bad. And then when I talked to him Sunday, he's like, yeah, it was so much fun and I had the best time. And I'm like, whew. So all that mental like exhaustion I put on myself, I genuinely felt so bad because I had not seen him since Friday. But yeah.
I think off of that, like certain individuals in our lives restore us.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Just whether it's somebody you grew up with or a close friend or.
Yeah. I believe it's those relationships where it doesn't truly require effort. Like just being around them. Just my favorite people are the people I can sit with and not have to talk to. Like you can just sit next to me. You're happy. I'm happy. We don't have to sit here and talk. Some people you don't even have to interact with. Those are my favorite people. I'm not lying. Like if you can sit next to me or in the same room as me and we can watch a movie and we don't have to talk, or you read your book and I'm going to play my games, but just sit next to me.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite time. Or play the game with me. I don't really care. Just be next to me. That's my favorite.
Yeah. Be in my.
Yeah.
That was a point that we missed. Are you giving rest?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what that is.
Yeah.
Like, just like Sarah was just saying, like, I feel like with you guys, I have that, like I feel rested and safe and secure. Like, I don't have to worry about stuff,
Yeah.
It's just a good environment where you're safe with this person and you can relax.
And then especially, like, Austin, specifically, you've talked about your kids. I'm sure your wife needs rest.
Oh, yeah.
So and then I talked about communicating when you need rest. It goes the same way. Like if your partner reaches out to you and you're like, dang, I am so exhausted, which I know, almost said her name. I know she has. She's like, hey, I need a break. And you're like, all right, I got it.
Yeah.
Those are the best partnerships to have because you're giving them the rest. You're giving them the time that they need.
Her next break, I'm planning on throwing her in a hotel room by herself for like a week.
Oh, she'll love that.
Yeah.
She'll love
Well, I
that.
did it for a night one time. She's like, I got so bored, but this time, but it wasn't planned. It was surprise.
It was at a last.
Yeah, last kind of second kind of thing. And so, but if it's planned, she can like bring all her books that she wants to read.
Yeah, she can plan little things she wants to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, giving rest to others, especially those close to you. You know.
Yeah, and that can even be just participating in their love language.
Yeah.
Like if it's quality time, just being there with them. If it's physical touch, just giving them that physical retouch while knowing that you're not receiving anything back for this. You're doing that to make them feel good.
Right.
Or if it's a friend, same thing. Do something with them that makes them feel good, or that, like spa days. You know what I mean? Like something that will make them feel.
day together.
Don't get me started on spa days.
We did just sit in the sauna for 20 minutes.
But that sauna was so dang hot today.
Yeah, it was.
It was so hot.
I always like it. I love it.
Yeah.
I feel like you and me just sit in there and we just sit sometimes, and that's that's just perfect for me. Like it's fine. I love that.
Yeah. Yep. I know. We were sort of forced into conversation today, and it wasn't bad.
It was loud today.
It was loud. I'm sorry. I'll talk less.
We had like a bunch of extroverts in there today.
Yeah. Yeah. But.
Yeah. Well, and I think like if it's a friend, like maybe just helping them with a task or something. Like,
yeah.
You know, just, hey, let me do this for you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Acts of
That's
service.
Well, maybe if they don't do it the way you want it, then there's a personal issue you need to deal with.
Yeah.
But that's
Acts
for
of
another
service.
episode. No. So we talked about burnout. We talked about rest, giving rest. So really it comes down to if you want to make sure you are having a good life, you know, rest. Plan your rest. Give rest if you can, because that not only helps you and restores your tank, but you know, it's always kind to just help somebody else out.
Yeah.
So, and say if you to burnout. Nobody wants a frustrated individual. And that person is always hard to deal with. So
That is an empty cup you are talking to.
And so now that we talked about rest, we hope you guys join us next week when we talk about an even more important subject that has to do with the people in your lives and you. And that would be communication. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in this week. Hope to see you soon. And remember, you are loved.
Always be kind.
And keep trying.
See you guys.
Bye.